Hey, AfterBuzzers, welcome to the after show for Still Star-Crossed, All the World's a Stage. We're talking all about Season 1, Episode 3. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
A little more upbeat today.
Goes with the theme of the episode. Hey guys, my name's Candice Cruz, and you can find me on all my social media at Candice R. Cruz, and I'm joined with my co-host.
What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. I'm Olivia Gabaree. You can hit me up at The Real OG.
She is the real OG.
That's
I love
correct.
typing that in every day when I'm looking for your stuff. I'm like, real OG, she is. I even like the hat today.
Yeah,
Gold
I'm
digger.
styling.
Yeah,
you
you
know.
are.
Gold, not
Gold.
golds.
Right.
Not 40.
Not 40,000 ducats.
ducats worth of gold.
That was a whole conversation we just had before because we were trying to figure out how much this dowry was worth.
Yeah, and if it's accurate, we looked it up, and what was it that one ducat was worth?
Like over
80, was it?
I think they said like 1,000 ducats was like 80,000 now.
Yeah,
So that's a lot of money.
Yeah, if that's accurate in that time,
Yeah.
80 times
40,000.
I don't know math. I went to art school, but that
Same.
sounds like a lot of money.
She's worth a lot.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way. This whole episode was so intense. I got a lot of tweets from people before we came on.
I know.
And everyone's saying they loved this episode. It was one of their
'cause
favorites.
Actually, I mean, some of our predictions started coming
Yeah.
true, which,
Yeah, we did.
Of course, I like when I'm right. Who doesn't like when they're right?
Always.
And there was a lot more action, of course, which
Yeah.
I enjoyed. Less dialogue, more action.
Love.
All right. I'm
There's
down for
ghosts.
it.
Love, ghosts, bombs. We got it all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we'll start off with the betrothal since we were talking about the 40,000 ducats.
Yes.
Worth of everything. I feel like the betrothal was the entire like underlining theme of this whole episode because first two episodes we were trying to like get all the characters in order and then they're talking about getting the pairing and now it's set in stone like Benvolio and Rosalind are to be wed. And I loved seeing like Rosalind starting to play her power a little bit more with this betrothal, especially with Prince Escalus, because she knows now the
Right.
prince is in love and she's pissed.
Well, I like it because now she's playing the game. Because when you're stuck in a shitty situation like that, you have to play the hand that you're dealt, you
Right.
know? And of course, her relationship with Escalus isn't ideal, but we know that they have feelings for each other. And if he's going to put her in this messed up situation, you better believe she's going to get back at him for it and, you know, make him a little bit
Jealous?
jealous, salty, uncomfortable.
Oh, he is.
And that he is.
Very much so. I love the opening scene where she's having lunch with Princess Isabel and he comes in and she's like, we were just talking about how excited I am that I'm getting married. And he's like,
Petty.
wait, what? Not happy.
And Isabel's like,
Wait,
we were?
It was so good. I love it so much. I mean, even when she confronts her uncle later on, like Rosalind really takes her power with this whole betrothal. Because it goes from the highs and lows. Obviously, she doesn't want this to happen. Like we know that there is no way she actually wants to get married to Benvolio, but she even puts her ground down with her uncle saying, listen, if I'm going to be betrothed, we're doing it on my terms.
Again, but I like it because she knows that it has to happen either way. So, granted, it's not something that she's exactly comfortable with, and she's not getting really, I mean, personally, she's not getting anything out of the marriage because it's something that she doesn't want.
Right.
However, she's going to make it so she gets something out of the marriage, and we all know about her relationship with her sister and how much she truly cares about her. So, of course, she's going to bring her along for the ride and ensure that she's golden when she leaves. Because that would be messed up for her to get off and be married and her sister be stuck there being a servant, when in reality, her sister's the one that wants to get married, you know?
I mean, it sucks that she couldn't just pass it along and be like, Olivia gets to
Yeah,
marry
it would be way
Benvolio.
easier that way.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about Olivia in a minute because I'm all obsessed with like this Olivia and Paris dynamic. But I mean, I find it like this whole betrothal of both of them like with Benvolio being in love with another character. What was her name?
She was the prostitute.
Yes.
I'm not sure of her name.
I can't remember her name, but he is in love with her. I have it written down somewhere. We'll find it somewhere whenever we go through all this. But, you know, him wanting to run away. Like, they're both trying to run away from this because clearly this was not their destiny. Like, he even makes it clear when he's talking to his uncle saying, I wish that Romeo and Juliet would have been alive.
Right. I mean, because who wants their destiny chosen for them? Could you imagine being in a family and having your mom and dad choose who you spend the rest of your life with, but not even your mom and dad, having your uncle basically choose your fate for you? And he didn't exactly grow up thinking that this was going to be the role in his family. This was Romeo's role, and now he has to fill Romeo's shoes and follow all of the steps and the lifestyle that Romeo would have had to follow.
Yeah. And I feel for Rosalind too, because she's getting married into a family that literally killed her father.
Well, to her understanding at this point.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of twists, so it could easily be someone that is conspiring against these two families.
Yeah. I won't bring it up now, but I just think that what we did see happen later in the episode has a much deeper root, rather than just like these occurrences lately. I have a feeling that it's rooted way into the past that has contributed to this feud between the two families.
Yeah. And I do like that there is obviously the two getting married is supposed to be like a bond between the two fighting families, and I feel like Benvolio and Rosalind are starting to have their own alliances of sorts. May not be a loving alliance, but they have a common goal of not getting married.
I knew that was going to happen because they're both strong-minded people. I mean, they're both strong people and they're both very smart people. So, like I said, you know, you're given this deck, right? You're given these resources and you have to make the best of it. So now you have a partner. It may not be a partner you're in love with, but it's a partner that you have a common goal with. So, you know, use each other to get to where you each want to be.
Yeah. The gazebo scene really proved that too, of them having the conversation of him being like, listen, I know you want to be a nun, and I clearly don't want to marry you. So let's figure out a way to get you to the nunnery here.
It's a win-win.
Exactly. I'll run off, you run off, we're all happy in the long run.
And it's kind of cool that they're both in on it, because one of them could easily just run away and disappear and not tell the other.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that would leave the other person in an embarrassing or sticky situation. And I don't know.
These uncles, though, like these two uncles, and they're so conniving, especially with even when we were talking about the ducats, which if anyone knows how much an actual ducat is worth and how much she's getting paid for, I want to know.
Well, did you see that chest of gold? Like, that thing was deep.
I want that much gold. When I get married, give that much gold to my family, right?
Like,
what
I'll
happened to
marry
dowries?
anyone for 40 ducats. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't.
But really, though.
But the thing with the uncles is they both have an underlying motive that really has nothing to do with their niece or their nephew.
No, none.
It's more rooted in their own selfish ways. And, you know, it's unfortunate because, I mean, if it wasn't obvious enough that they really did not give a shit about these family members, it's pretty obvious now, because both Rosalind and Benvolio voiced that this would make them unhappy, that they didn't want to do it. But of course, Lord Montague wants the name and the power, and now the church that they're building.
Yeah.
It's a church.
Yeah.
What do they call it?
It's a cathedral.
Cathedral.
Yes.
And obviously, Lord Capulet needs money.
Yeah. No, I mean, Lord Montague's sneaky. Like, I give it to Capulet, like, but he's having his own issues right now as it is. Lord Montague is plotting.
He's plotting deep.
Really deep. Like, offering 20,000. Still, I don't know what this is worth, but him like being, oh, she's only worth 20,000. And then Capulet being like, no, it's 40,000.
That's a typical
negotiation.
Yes, you always say no to the first offer. You know,
got to work your way up.
Yes,
but Montague, I think, is shooting low because he wants Capulet to come out and be like talking about his debt. He is trying to plot and frame this guy so that he knows. Because as we saw in the previous episode a couple weeks ago, now that we had a hiatus last week, that, you know, Capulet killed his architect.
Right. And I mean, it makes perfect sense because he needs a
stall.
Yeah, he needs a reason for why the cathedral has been like put on pause. Yeah. He can't say I ran out of money and I can't do it anymore, but oh, my architect died, so like it just buys him time.
He slipped and fell. Well, I mean, Montague picked it up though real quick. Like halfway through the episode, he's like, you know, that architect didn't die on his own accord. He like got pushed.
Well, because he knew, because of course Benvolio was spying and got the inside scoop. And I mean, to anybody that had that type of information, it's very obvious as to why Capulet was doing that. But it's funny how he's playing it now, because when he went to the princess and he's trying to finesse his way into finishing the cathedral, knowing that he now would have the power to do so because there's no one really to stop him. Oh no. It has to get built, and he knows exactly what to say in order for it to get built. He knows the princess is so obsessed with making Verona look a certain way and have a certain respect, and if it's a broken city with a half-built cathedral, like what kind of look is that? It has to be like a very royal, you know, clean, regal, respectable looking place. And she was on to him, of course, because she's very intelligent. She knows what's up, and she knew what he was trying to do, take it out from under the Capulets, but he spun it in a way so it would be empowering to women and be a good look for her. And of course she's like, okay.
That moment that they had under the gazebo, like, I just want to talk a little bit about the relationship. Like, it was almost like a three-way little relationship of like Prince Escalus basically shutting his sister down. This is the first time that I've seen Prince Escalus like exude power over his sister, like full on, like, we're not going to talk about that, let the men talk.
Right.
And you could see in her eyes that she was not having it. Like, she just wanted to have good relationships and play the part. Like, play the part of princess, schmooze the people that were coming, that they were proving that the betrothal was going on, that Verona is becoming a happier place, and that the families are going to be bonded. And then Prince Escalus, I think, is still trying too damn hard. Like, he's literally trying to force everything so hard, and he's almost strangling it. And then the princess is, as you know, Montague caught on. That look, that moment was so like crucial for me that I saw. I was like, something's gonna happen. Exactly. Just that one moment of the eye contact of him watching, realizing that the princess is way more like her father than the prince, because of course the prince got sent away.
Yes.
And was learning to rule from other nations or other locations within Italy, but like, her power just came in full force.
Right. And but you see, that's exactly what I mean about Montague. He knows how to spin everything in his favor. He's very observant. He pays attention to the politics of things and how things work out, and he finds the perfect route where he could slide in out from underneath and take whatever he wants. And I'm sure that, I mean, that's the way that their family in particular probably has to run things, because they didn't come from old power and old money. It's something that they had to gain and build on their own. So I'm sure those tactics had gotten him where he is today, and probably will take him he will surpass where he is now. But it's interesting that you do say that, how Escalus is really trying to exercise his power and prove himself, because there's been multiple times in this episode where he exercised his like manhood and power as a man over his sister. You know, even in the attack at the end, she told the servant to help Escalus out, but he made the servant go and grab her and take her away regardless of what she said, and he had to listen to the prince because he's the prince, because he's the man in the family, and he holds that power.
I think she's so sly that, I mean, even with, like, she called out Montague on his slickness. Like, he's slick. He, no doubt about it. Like, he is very conniving. He knows how to, like, one up and to be the smarter person in the room, per se, or more of, like, calculated person in the room. But the princess is on to him, and I think she's also, like, making her way to almost not overthrow her brother, but I think she's just biting her tongue. I think she really is going to end up being the leader, and he's not going to know it. He's not going to realize that she's actually the one ruling the household, because she's smart and she's doing those calculated moves. Like, if she's letting Montague take over that cathedral, right there, she has the biggest card in her hand over her brother. And, like, even the conversation, she shows no weakness versus he shows a lot. Like, he's overcompensating and trying to show his masculinity and trying to, like, overcompensate for all of it. And later on, he even says, why is it that I have the power to kill someone with only 3 words? He said, I took the life of however many men only by saying the word. And she said, because you are the prince. And she continues to believe that, and she will keep that held strong, versus he's, like, already crumbling underneath all of it.
I think that you have to work smarter rather than harder. And he's doing the most right now. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's doing everything he can just to show his power off and make sure that he can maintain his power at the top, where she's kind of, she's holding back, but she's watching everything happen, and she's calculating it out, and she's thinking everything through because she's working smart. And in the long run, the person who works smarter is going to last the longest, as opposed to someone who's putting their all into, you know, this one thing, and then they're going to get burnt out. Yeah, exactly. Because they're not really seeing anything else that's happening around them. They only have their eye on the prize and on one route to get there. Yeah.
Versus she was very, like, she was schmoozing the right people, making sure, like, she attended to, I mean, obviously you guys watched the episode, so there's a bomb at the end, obviously. Spoiler alert, not to drop the bomb on it. But she went directly to the ambassador of Venice, because she knows that this is their one and only shot to prove to these outlying societies that Verona is not on the cusp of crumbling.
Exactly, and it's ironic because she makes the move to save it at that moment, where Escalus took that moment away from her and made her leave and remove herself from the situation. And in the long run, that could potentially screw them.
Yeah, she even said, it's your head, not mine.
Yeah.
So she knows that too. She's like, I think she's trying to help her brother out, but at the same time, she's just like, I can only do so much. Right. I'm going to work smarter, not harder, like we talked about. Yeah, I agree. That whole dynamic, I'm interested to see how much the princess and Lord Montague actually interact, or if this is just like a one-sided, like, she'll give it to him and then we won't see anything for them for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I think that she's gonna she'll exercise her power over the cathedral one way or another. I don't see herself just giving it to him and letting him do what he wants with it. It probably is gonna use him for, like, the labor and the money and everything that goes into it,
and it will be hers.
But it ultimately would be hers.
Yeah. I don't know, that whole, like, dynamic between them. And then, like, on the other token, poor Lord Capulet, he's literally, like, already arguing against Montague. He's got all of that, and then now he's starting to have, like, night terrors, I think, or he's like, he's not himself.
Right. I think his internal issues, his issues that are happening in his family and his marriage, and his emotional issues and his decision. I mean, he's not really grieving in the correct manner and dealing with everything, and that's why he's seeing Juliet's ghosts, and all of this is haunting him.
He has so much on his shoulders, like, all of it. And we even see, like, a stack of, like, all the bills due and stuff. So I don't think we really understand how deep Lord Capulet is in the hole right now.
I like feel a little bit bad for him.
I do, because his daughter died.
I like him better than Lord Montague.
I think that there's better intentions, like more heartfelt intentions from Capulet versus Montague. I feel like is so just out to keep his status, keep his money. I mean, even Montague's advice to Benvolio saying, I don't care what you do after you provide an heir. Once you provide an heir, you can go do whatever your heart desires with whoever you want to. But Capulet, I think, is literally trying to do it with the best intentions possible.
Possible given the situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think him with the architect, he keeps having flashbacks from that. At first, I thought the ghost was the architect.
I mean, it would make sense because he would be haunting him for
Right?
killing him.
But, I mean, the fact that we're seeing Juliet's ghost, that was a twist I didn't expect.
I know, but it's just very ironic because obviously the death of a child takes a toll on a marriage. Never mind a marriage
That was already crumbling to begin
where
with.
the woman didn't even want to be in the marriage to begin with. You know, it just goes to show that I think, you know, when you're having internal struggles, it's only so long before it
Everything else
expands and just all of a sudden, you know, everything else comes down with it.
Yeah. I mean, I did see Still Star-Crossed tweet out, like, beware, like, just that from what Juliet's warning was at the end whenever Lord Capulet sees her. So I have a feeling this ghost of Juliet is going to be pretty pertinent throughout the entire rest of the season.
Yeah, maybe she'll serve as kind of a light to the future. I mean, not a positive one, but, you know, giving warnings and kind of foreshadowing things that potentially could happen.
It gave me a little, like, a Christmas Story vibes, not gonna
Yes,
lie.
yeah.
A lot of that. But I still find it kind of creepy that they actually had, like, her body still there. Like, how long has it been since she died?
Yeah, I wonder, I mean, well,
It was a different time, obviously, but, like,
because
to leave
Romeo's
the body
was,
preserved there,
you
dismembered.
know, yeah, but it was accessible as well.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they preserve it in that way. I don't really know.
I find that fascinating because, like, he touched her too, and that kind of, like, gave me the heebie-jeebies.
I mean, it would start like rotting and
Eventually,
decaying.
yeah. I mean, the health wasn't that good back then.
Yeah.
Like, I guess they just didn't
Well, it's
understand.
television.
It is
so-
television too,
I'll
but
give them
I
that.
get so intense on these things. I'm like, why is the body still out? You need to bury her.
I
Like,
know.
come
well,
on.
with shows like these, they're very detail oriented, so it obviously serves a purpose as to why they still have the body around.
Yeah. And the nurses heed to, like, Lord Capulet to actually grieve and stuff. I mean, he's really trying to, like, he tried to have a moment with his wife and she just shut it down.
I mean, I don't care for her.
I don't like her.
think anybody really does.
No, but I mean, I can understand losing your only daughter and her grieving in that way, but she's just a little too extreme.
Well, she knows something. I mean, she knows something's up, but to what extent, really? I almost think that she's thinking more of it than it actually was. Yeah,
She's focusing on Rosalind, thinking Rosalind had something to do with it versus
Which-
the fact that
she kind of did because she was aware of it.
Oh, yeah,
but
I mean-
not with the intention of Juliet dying being the outcome.
no, because I mean, Rosalind loved Juliet, like
Yeah.
that was like her cousin. But I don't know. Like, I feel like Lady Capulet is going to unravel something because if she comes out and figures out that it was Romeo and Juliet, I feel like that will make the war against the Capulet Montagues, like, grow even.
Oh yeah, of
Wider.
course, because she loves stirring the pot.
She loves the drama.
Yeah.
I guess she's just there for dramatic purposes anyway. I mean, her wanting to keep Paris away. I still don't know why she's keeping Paris away from the outside
Locked up.
world.
Yeah, he's not even allowed to, walk the garden, be outside at all. He has to be inside at all times. And I'm thinking, what does his family think back home? Do they think he's dead? He disappeared?
Like, because he
No
was
one's
marrying
sending
Juliet,
for
so
him?
Juliet would have brought back to his family, correct? Yes.
Yeah,
So
because
he would
she
have
would be
stayed
married into his,
in his
family.
family.
I think it's very strange. Maybe that's something that we're going to revisit in the future because they are so nervous about having feuds with different
Towns,
areas,
yeah.
And Paris is he's like royal. He has money, he has power. I don't really see a family of that caliber
just letting their son run away and, like, not come
and
back.
forgetting about it.
Yeah, I agree. But speaking of Paris and Olivia, I love this little duo.
I know.
and this
I knew,
pairing.
but we knew it was going to happen.
We did. We predicted that. But I love the relationship so much.
Because it's
makes me just
genuine.
happy.
You know why it sticks out so much is because it's honestly the only genuine relationship in the entire show.
Yes.
Every relationship in the show is not built on feelings or love. It's built on
stature, and money, and all of that. No, I love the dynamic and the love of Paris and Olivia and seeing how that's going to grow. Because, like, I mean, even going back to when Rosalind said, I can't leave you. And Olivia's like already knowing that Paris is in love with her. She's like, no, go do what you wanted to do. I'll be fine. I promise you. I can't tell you why, but I'll be fine. But
why can't she just, because she didn't want to let her sister know about, like, Rosalind doesn't even really know that Paris
is still alive, nothing.
Is alive and is living in the same house. And it's kind of strange that Olivia wouldn't tell her sister something like that since they are so close.
I feel like if she would have told Rosalind, like, Rosalind is one for confrontation at this point. Like, I feel like she's willing to go against and above and beyond. So, like, Olivia knows not to tell her and add one more thing to her plate.
Nervous.
And, like, rat herself out to Lady Capulet. Because, I mean, she's not supposed to be visiting with Paris. She's not supposed to be taking care of him. All of that good stuff. I guess,
maybe she just didn't want to ruin a good thing.
Yeah. I loved the line where they were out in the garden and he's trying to kiss her.
And she's like, I'm still a lady.
I may be a servant, but I'm still a lady. You can't kiss me.
I know. So they don't kiss until they're married?
Nope. Nope.
Okay.
I mean, for Christ's sake, when they had a betrothal and they're tying a ribbon around their wrist saying, you're getting engaged, but not for a really long time. Like, you're not getting married, but I'm tying a ribbon around your wrist and you're, like, stuck.
So it's like the engagement for the engagement?
Yes.
Very strange, but okay.
So much, like, ceremony and pomp and circumstance of all of this stuff. I find it fascinating.
I guess they got to lock it down.
No pun intended.
You know.
But no, I loved that relationship between Paris and Olivia. I think it's a nice, like, relief from all the other intensity. It's like that heartwarming relationship between the two of them, which I think Benvolio and Rosalind are ultimately going to have.
I think they're going to end up in love because they're working together and they're forced to have so much time together.
The looks Benvolio gives her are just like saucy.
I almost feel like they do like each other.
Yeah.
And
they hate love each other.
Right. They both have too much pride to even go there.
Yes.
But I bet you something's going to happen where they're going to have to, like, work together to save each other's lives, and then they're going to kiss.
They're going to kiss eventually. We know that. But, like, he already saved her from her rapist that was supposed to happen in the first episode. Like, he has saved her on multiple occasions. So either he's just a really good guy.
Which I think he is.
Which he is. But I think he also has a soft spot for her.
No, I agree. He doesn't want to admit it, and I think especially because it wasn't his decision, and he's a stubborn person. But, you know, by the end, when we had the ceremony and then we saw the bombing, it's like they both had the same instinct. Go after him.
No, Rosalind took the charge on that
she
one.
Did, but he
was like, okay.
Yeah, he could have stayed back. He didn't have to, you know.
Technically, he was tied to her.
I mean, they were tied, but, like, you could untie it, you know. Right.
I mean, I feel for that whole relationship, if we're talking about the ceremony, with the love square. It's not even a love triangle. It's a love square of, like, Benvolio's love of. I really want to find out her name.
Does he genuinely love her?
I think so. I mean, he wanted to run away with her.
Right.
Like, he literally asked to run away with her and be like, I want to go and become, you know, a blacksmith, and we'll go off to wherever, Venice or something.
But I don't know. I'm not sure if I believe that he really genuinely loves her.
Or
maybe
he's infatuated with her.
He needs, like, a partner in crime.
Of course.
And she doesn't really have anything to lose exactly.
No, but she's smart. Like, if we're talking about that relationship of Stella is her name, I found it. Benvolio and Stella. Like, she even warns him. She's like, you don't need to be here. Like, you need to do what you need to do. And that look on her face when she's at the ceremony and seeing that he's getting betrothed to Rosalind, like, it broke my heart to see that. And then Escalus is really, like, look on his face when he's watching this happen.
He expresses the fact that it bothers him. But I don't, you know, I don't want to feel bad for him, but I do in a way, because as messed up as it is, I understand why he's doing it. I mean, in a way, he's saving Rosalind, you know? He could save her by marrying him himself, but it wouldn't have the same effect.
No, it wouldn't do any of that. And I think in the long run, it would basically have the crumble of Verona. I think he's doing what he has to do, but it's still, I do feel bad for him. Like, I don't judge Escalus for all of his, like, decisions, because I think it's coming from, like, he's really trying, but he's trying too hard. Like, that's where I find his fault, is that he's overcompensating versus, like, he's doing what he feels is best. Like, he's sacrificing himself. Like, his one true love is getting married to the person that she actually despises, and you can tell that it's breaking him.
I feel bad. I feel like he's breaking in a lot more ways than one.
Right? The poor guy. His head's going to be on the chopping block if Verona falls. Like, he lost his one true love. His sister's going to overthrow him, I guarantee
Poor
it.
Escalus, taking L's left and right.
Literally. He is taking L's everywhere.
I don't see him lasting very long at the top.
No. I mean, but I think ultimately he's kind of caused this on himself. Like, Rosalind's gonna fall in love with Benvolio after all this argument.
We
Do
have
you
some
see it?
people
We
in
have
the
some
live
people in the
chat.
oh, look at that. I can't read all of it. Lord Capulet is overwhelmed with grief. Yeah. We know that's for sure. Paris and Olivia are adorable. I love them too.
Behavior. I can't.
We can't read all this.
I
Like, we need
wish
our
I had
spectacles.
glasses.
Like, I can't read. Oh, they're zooming it in. Thank you so much. I'm quite fed up with the prince and his behavior towards Rosalind. All these mixed feelings and messages he sends her is quite tedious. I agree that one episode where it literally was like every 5 minutes was back and forth.
Yeah,
like,
but
it's like, I love you. I
does
don't love you. I love
her.
you. Yeah, but come on. Like, that was too much. That's like high school stuff. Like, I like you, but I don't like you, but I like you.
He likes her. He's just doing what he thinks is best for her.
Yeah.
At the moment.
Yeah. Well, Rosalind is taking charge, and I loved her combativeness with him. He's like, "Why are you teasing me?" And she's like, "Me?
Yeah, you
You
can
can call
easily
this
call this
off.
off.
It's on you."
I feel like that's me. That's me AF. I would definitely be that petty. Like, oh, you want to play this?
Fine. This is what you're doing, so why don't you just call this off? I'll be happier that way.
exactly.
We could end up together.
Yeah, but do what you will. Sorry.
Well, to bring up
I'll live either way.
Right? The dramatics of the bomb. Like, this
Yeah.
betrothal is the death of a couple people, literally and figuratively.
I mean, so we find out that the man who set this bomb off also was the one that tried to rape Rosalind.
Correct.
Has a Montague name.
Yes.
Isn't necessarily a blood relation.
He's blood related, but he's not of the stature that, like, Benvolio is. I think, like, it seems that there's
He's
like a
on the
long
low tier.
because all these people, the whole town is broken up by, like, Montagues and Capulets. So I feel like they're the townspeople versus the, like, hierarchy of the lords. So he's scum to Benvolio. Like, he does not like Trucio. I think he was also the one taunting him in the bar
Yeah.
that he got in the fight with.
I mean, I agree with that as well. It's obvious that this person is a troublemaker in more ways than one and likes to stir the pot. And now, I mean, we don't know for sure, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that he or the people,
His group.
yeah, there's definitely more where he came from. I don't think that he's acting alone based on what he had said before he died.
He said this war will never end. He will never allow it. So we have no idea who this he person is. Like, who is running this show. Because when Trucio did the shot of the bomb, he said, here's a wedding gift for this horrible union, or to whatever extent of what he said. And then runs away. He did not declare which house his alliances. He didn't say for the house of Montague. He didn't say for the house of Capulet. So Rosalind's smart and calls it out. And they start putting the puzzle pieces together. I love seeing this dynamic, like, trying to figure out all of it and, like, figuring out who he's working for, because they figured, I keep repeating the same thing. Help me here.
They figured, what do you mean?
Well, they figured out that it's not on one party, that Trucio is working for a bigger party.
Oh,
that
right.
they're basically, their demise is coming from an outside source putting the two families together. Figured it out. I figured out how to say all
Right. It
that.
could be an outside source, or it could really just be, it could be an inside source, and it's just the people at the bottom, trying to overtake the people at the top, because it could be that, people in general, especially in a situation or setting like that where history is so strongly rooted in contributes to their relationship to this day, like the relationship between each of the families, that some people maybe aren't ready for a big change like that. They want to be true to their house and true to their family, and they almost see it as like a betrayal to wed the enemy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they've been raised that way.
Exactly.
They've been killing brother against brother, essentially.
But whether it's from the inside or the outside, it's a group of people that are unhappy about the two houses becoming an alliance.
And we saw that earlier with the harlot in the first episode, and then the second episode of Romeo being like, dismembered. I think it's all one party.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say, is all these terrible acts that have been happening throughout each of the episodes, whether it was the dismembering of Romeo or, at the funerals of Romeo and Juliet, how the figure was ruined or vandalized. And there are just the little things that keep on happening that are stirring the pot and creating more trouble for the families. So, that obviously is done on purpose for a reason. And now we know that someone is actively trying to keep the war going, so it would only make sense for them to be continually doing these things. But now it's from a different perspective, because so many people saw this man, and they saw him as just a man, not as a Capulet man, not as a
He was completely
Montague
hooded.
man. Exactly. So now people know that there's a third party involved, that it's not really coming from within, that's continuously trying to contribute to this war of the families. So, it brought Rosalind and Benvolio together to work together, but it could also bring the two families, the two lords, together to try to figure out who this person is and why they're doing that.
And I think I agree with that. And I also think, to the extent of like, all of the parties were gathered together to see this betrothal. And a lot of people died within that bomb, and within like the two families both. Equally, they were both hurt and killed and lost a lot of lives within their families. So
Right.
I think that they may bond together. But I don't know if they even realize that it could be completely outside source.
Yeah, I mean, I could
they're gonna
see-
blame, like, it could also be the opposite, where they're blaming one another.
Right. Well, Lady Capulet is going to be the first one to
Of course she
blame it
is.
on a Montague. But I was also thinking that, I mean, aside from the fact that he's referring to a he, there was someone on the street that brought the straw figures in to be shot, correct?
Yeah.
So that we already know that it's a team up right there. There was someone at the top shooting, and there was someone at the bottom setting it up. So this was a preconceived situation we got going on here, and it took more than one person to execute it.
There was one other thing that I caught on to, and I don't know if we're going to figure out what it was or not until later on, but Lord Capulet paused during all the smoke moving. And I don't know whether it's because he's being haunted or what in the world is going on, but he took a moment and like literally walked into the fire and was just staring off into oblivion. And even Lady Capulet called it out and was calling out to him, being like, come back over
Right,
here.
right.
What was he seeing?
Like,
is
he
he
is haunted by his own.
Maybe it had something to do with like, he knows who's behind all of this. Maybe he saw someone that like is against the family.
Something
I
was
don't
ringing a
know.
bell.
Something's got to be going on, but he's completely tormented right now. But I'm wondering if that has something to do with the ghost or someone else. That's my only question.
I think
left
he was
after
already
this.
feeling guilty about this situation, and now this is just contributing to it.
Yeah.
So he's feeling a way about it.
I mean, he kind of should.
Yeah.
All parties involved should. I don't think there's any innocent parties in this whole group. I was going to say Rosalind and Benvolio are, but even then they're not.
I mean, they are, but forcefully they can't be.
Right. Olivia's the only pure one.
Yeah, so far.
So far. I wonder if Paris has anything to do with it too. I wonder if he's been brought in and he's like the Trojan horse that was coming in to marry.
Yeah. Or maybe it's someone from his home that's coming in and destroying all this. I don't know.
Could be.
Because it was his wedding supposed to happen, but now his wife's dead and he's missing. And
There's so much in this episode and so much in the show. Like, I've been following on social media, seeing everybody, and there's a lot of conversation about it.
Right. But I'm glad something finally happened to switch up the storyline a little, because there's only so many times one family could do something to the other, and then the other family could do something to the other. Then they blame it on this one. They blame it on that one. I like now that there's a common enemy. So forcefully the dynamic between the two is going to have to change, whether it's for the positive or the negative.
Right. And there has to be longevity within this show. I always try to remind myself when I'm watching a show, unless it's a limited like season and it's only supposed to be for one season, ideally the writers would make something that in depth that would be able to go for a long time. So I don't think we're going to figure this out anytime soon, but I always have this rule, this 3-episode rule when it comes to like new shows.
What's that?
Is that every first season, it takes up to episode 3 for it to get really, really good. Now, that's not for every show. Like, I've seen some shows where they pick up right off the bat in, like, first episode, you're hooked. But I feel like it takes episode 1 and episode 2 to kind of, like, set up the world, set up what's happening, and, like, it can be really in-depth and really good, but it's not going to really, like, hook you until episode 3 when you're like, oh.
So do you typically give all your shows a 3-episode grace period?
I do, actually.
I should work on that.
I get to the 3rd episode and I'm like, if I get halfway through episode 3 and I'm still bored, I'm like, done. Sorry, bye, off.
I have like a 3-minute rule.
You have a 3-minute rule?
I have like
I
no
get 3
attention
episodes.
span.
She has 3 minutes.
I'm
3
like,
hours,
this
3
is
minutes.
boring. After 3 minutes, I can't watch this.
Well,
Not
this
3
has
minutes,
never
but
been
you know.
boring, that's for
Yeah.
sure. But I feel like I totally agree with you on that of like, it was so much still embedded within the storyline of Romeo and Juliet that I was kind of anxious for
Right,
it
but
to
I
get
think it's
out
cool.
of.
It's cool because it's a play on a story that we all know. You know what I mean? We all know the classic story of Romeo and Juliet, and the fact that we're taking it in a world beyond that
Right.
is intriguing.
And it's giving it a current spin, even though it is a period piece and they're sticking very close to the period and being very accurate with like their clothing choices and all of the like language and everything else. I feel like they're tackling issues like with feminism. They're dealing with the race issue of like making sure that it's very diverse. Like Hollywood is becoming more and more diverse, which is something I'm excited about. But seeing all of that common thread, and I've been watching more and more interviews about it, and with the actors and their conversations about it, and conversations about the fashion. And I love how like much present day is being put in there so like easily. It's very fluid.
Right, I agree. And, you know, to speak on the language, I think that I like this show so much more than I typically like Shakespeare pieces, whether they're, you know, old or they're current, because of the way, because I can understand what they're saying.
Right.
It's so frustrating to me. I mean, maybe it's easy for you, maybe it's easy for you, but it's extremely hard for me to get into a show and be able to follow it when they're using all this old, you know, what is that even called? The Shakespearean language, I guess.
I agree. I think if you're not versed in Shakespeare, which is a whole big deal. Like if you're going to theater school, there's a whole course on Shakespeare.
Right.
There's so much to it because almost every story has some essence of Shakespeare, which Shakespeare even got from like before all of that, if we're getting like really hypothetical with like theater and stuff. But I think it's so unfortunate that so much of Shakespeare sometimes is lost because it isn't a common language. You can't it's not easily understood.
And as much as I
all.
wish, because these stories are they're so famous and they're so heavy and they have all these underlying messages.
Like
and
Taming of the Shrew
lessons.
was She's a Man. If anyone's ever watched that, that's Taming of the Shrew. It was
Yeah.
based off of Shakespeare. So it's
Right,
like,
and so
you
many
know.
modern day pieces are either based or inspired by Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I've always struggled with understanding the language, and I think that, you know, going back and reading Romeo and Juliet in middle school, I probably would have been able to appreciate it a lot more if my teacher took the time to break down what exactly they were saying.
Oh, I agree. I'm not, all of this that I'm saying, I don't really completely understand the
Right.
language. Like, I appreciate it, but when I was in high school, I had the Spark Notes because you can get the book
Yes.
now that literally has Shakespeare
yeah.
and regular present day English.
But
And
we
like,
were even
yeah.
talking about like the Leonardo DiCaprio
It was
Romeo and
all
Juliet
in Shakespeare.
Yeah, and
like,
it's like, what the heck? What are you saying?
I think the only thing that I did like about that though is that if you're gonna have one or the other, at least you had the language, but you met it with present day. Like you had the guns, you had the helicopters and everything, so it made it a little bit more like
Yeah.
visually. You're like, oh, I get it.
Understanding what's happening.
But I like how they are merging the two with this one. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's a modern twist, but still respecting the fact that it's
It's definitely a period drama.
Shakespearean
Yeah.
type show.
Yeah. Well, guys, hit us up and let us know like your thoughts, your predictions. Like it's been I feel like this is going to become the next fandom with Shondaland.
Yeah.
Yeah, because so many people are talking about it and all those relationships and stuff.
Right. And again, you know, it's a story we're all familiar with, so it's definitely something worth giving a chance to.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm excited for episode 4. Well, guys, I hope you liked our new time, too. We're now going to be on Tuesdays at 10 rather than Thursday. So we're closer to the actual airing of
Right.
the episode. We had some people ask us saying, why are you doing it so late in the week? So now we're finally up there.
We'll be more timely with it.
More timely with it. But I think that pretty much wraps up All the
Yes.
World's a Stage.
It does, indeed.
It was a very intense, dramatic episode, to say the least. I had 2 pages full of notes. But you guys hit us up, comment, like this show, and follow us on AfterBuzz. And you can find me, again, my name is Candice Cruz. Find me on all my social media at Candice R. Cruz.
And I'm Olivia Gabaree. You can hit me up at the real_O_G. We'll see you next week.
Yep. Bye, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.